So your revenues are $169 million. Now, that's not what actually goes through the records. That includes about, let's say, about $33 million of on-behalf payments that are for the TPAF, for the teacher's pension, and teacher's medical, okay, for retirees. We're required to show that, okay, it's paid on behalf of the district by the Department of Ed to the Treasury Department. We have to show it because the government wants to see what it really costs to run the district. What goes through your records is not really a true representative, but when you add on this $33 million, it shows you that you're running at least $169 million operation, even though your budget may be 135, 140. Okay, and same with your expenditures. If we show the revenue, we have to show the expense because you don't really profit from it. Okay, so as we flow through the document, by the way, there were no over expenditures. Okay, just to point that out to you. You started the year with 9.6 million, and you ended the year with 13.1 million. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but caution, most of it's spoken for, okay? And I'll give you the breakdown. It's on page 102. 115,000 is unemployment reserve for unemployment claims. Encumbrances are 136,000. Those are purchase orders that were committed that had not been filled nor paid for before year end. Excess surplus designated for the 25-26 year, which we're in, which was a result of the 24-25 school year, is 2.9 million. That money, when you opened your budget on July 1 of 25 for the 20, it's gone. Okay, so it's spoken for. It's used to balance your budget. I'll skip around one second. You have a capital reserve of 23,000. Okay, and your what's called your unassigned, which is the limit that you're allowed to keep, okay, up to the formulas that kick in, because everything's a formula, okay, is 3.1 million. As a result of your operations for 24-25, you generated excess surplus of 6.7 million. Now again, it's not necessarily free and clear because the second that Laura and the team strike the 26-27 budget, it's an automatic revenue item, okay? And how I know is we have to file an electronic version of this report, and we're the only ones that can change the numbers. It goes right into your 26-27 budget. Basically, it's spoken for. So, you know, at 13 million, not as high as it used to be, but it's a number that primarily of which is spoken for. And just for the record, our job is not to tell you that we are in great financial shape. That's not the purpose of the audit. It's not a corporation, okay? Our purpose is to verify the numbers presented by the management of the district and to give a report to the board that the financial statements were fairly presented, okay? So what happens is in the audit is we're hired to prepare the audit. Management provides us with the documents. We go through our procedures, we give an opinion, and like I said, the opinion is that the financial statements as presented are unmodified. So also, there's a lot of information contained in this document, again, about the demographics of the town. There's also a lot of deliriously boring information about pensions and TPAF. There's some scary numbers in there about the TPAF obligation that's attributed to the district. They're not your liabilities. They're the state's liabilities, okay? They pay on your behalf. But again, government wants to know what it really costs to run the district. Well, that information is contained in the notes to financial. We're not required to book it. The state does, and it does book it, and they are required. But there's the TPAF pension and the PERS and the health benefits. It's called other post-employment. It's pretty big money, like 250 million in one case. It's a lot of money, but again, it's not a tiny district. There's a lot of people that work here, and they're entitled to their benefits. So we have a clean opinion that's in this document here, and like I said, as I indicate, inside this document, the only thing that belongs to us is our independent auditor's opinion, okay? The other document I send is actually what's called the AMR, Auditor's Management Report, my representation to the board about the operation of the business office. I've reviewed all of that, okay, and it's included in here. There were no exceptions. There was nothing that we are required to report to the management, that is the board, that require the board to prepare a plan of action, a corrective action plan. Okay. One other thing inside of here is the summary of all the kid count. I call them kid counts. Okay. The attendance register, the ASSA. There's also information in here about your food service operation. During COVID, a lot of districts, I know the ones I worked on, ended up with a comment about the fact that they were in excess of the required maximum that they're allowed to keep in their food service fund. Well, you're under that number this year, and that's a good thing, okay? You're not so far under, though, that the fund is in trouble, okay? And the other thing, too, is the food service fund does have a surplus, okay? You're only allowed to keep it in the food service fund. You cannot use it for tax relief, okay? It's because really, although it looks like it's your money, most of the money in there is the federal government. So you are under that threshold as well. Also contained in this document is the calculation of the allocation of the various components of fund balance. We're required to do that. It gets verified. It goes into your electronic version, and so be it. It goes through the system, goes through the channels. Now, one last thing. This report was filed on time. There was a big struggle between the Department of Ed and the federal government and the auditors about as to when the real due date of this audit was. It started out, it was December 5th, which was 40 days sooner than last year. Made it very difficult for a lot of firms to issue their reports. In fact, as of yesterday, 82% of the districts were in. We're all in. Everybody I work on is in. So, but you folks were in, and the electronic version of the audit got filed, which was required to be filed by December 5th. Because of the shutdown of the federal government, they did not release the compliance supplements that relate to what you're supposed to do. And by the way, for the record, before the shutdown and after the shutdown, the requirements were the same. So it was really just a matter of trying to catch up. As I indicated last week at the meeting at the other districts I work on, they had a January 15th due date last year. They made it December 5th this year. It's very hard for any business to make up 40 days in 10 and a half months. Okay, in a profession where we have trouble finding people, and where we were behind to begin with, even going back to the COVID days. So this document here contains my representation of the board. There's nothing in here that needs to be acted on by the board. So in the end, we have a clean opinion, a modified opinion, and we have no recommendations. I do want to acknowledge, the support staff in all the buildings that we were in. They were very helpful, and we're very anxious to know if they had any, if they had any problems or we had any input for them. But the system set up here is pretty good. Okay, so unless someone individually fails, okay, if they don't fail, then everything falls into place, okay? And like I said, there's several people in the board office that they were all very helpful. And of course, our administrative team was very supportive as well. So we do want to thank the board for their support. I think it's too late to wish a Happy New Year. According to Larry David, after 3 days, you can't wish anyone a Happy New Year, but I always do. So the way I was raised, the first time you see somebody in the New Year, you say Happy New Year. So what has to happen is the board then has to adopt a resolution acknowledging the fact that the audit took place.
Yes.
And